Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into some fascinating thoughts about artificial intelligence, not in the, typical robots taking over kind of way. You shared some excerpts from an academic paper examining the ideas of Jiddu Krishnamurti, a 20th century thinker. Apparently, he had some really insightful things to say about AI, the human mind, and how they relate.
What's interesting is that Krishnamurti was exploring these ideas back in the 1980s, when AI was still in its very early stages. What he was concerned about wasn't so much machines becoming like humans, but humans becoming more like machines.
That's an interesting point. The paper argues that some of what Krishnamurti was saying back then is even more relevant now.
Exactly. We now have AI that can write essays, compose music, even design scientific experiments, things we once thought were uniquely human.
So let's unpack Krishnamurti's approach. The paper mentions he wasn't a typical philosopher, or scientist, I guess. He used questions to encourage people to examine their own minds rather than giving them ready-made answers.
His method was about prompting self-reflection. For example, he might ask, if machines can do everything we can, what makes us human? What are you?
That's a pretty profound question, especially now when AI is capable of so much.
It is. And Krishnamurti believed that a lot of human thought is actually mechanical, almost like a computer program running on autopilot.
So how did he see that playing out in our everyday lives?
He argued that many of our reactions to the world, to things like love, hate, politics, even art, are based on past conditioning rather than fresh perception. He suggested we often react in pre-programmed ways instead of truly engaging with the present moment.
It's like we're reacting based on old data instead of taking in new information.
Precisely. And if our minds are this mechanical, he argued they can be imitated by computers. And that's exactly what we're seeing today.
The paper you shared brings up a fascinating anecdote about Sven Nyholm, a philosopher, who found that ChatGPT could write a better essay about Heidegger and AI than he could in that moment.
It's a striking example of how AI can outperform experts in certain tasks, even philosophical ones.
And this leads to Krishnamurti's next point. He saw AI not as some separate enemy, but as an extension of our own mechanical minds, as if we've created a brain in our image.
He wasn't particularly optimistic about this development. Krishnamurti argued that by relying on AI to do more and more of our thinking, we risk becoming even more machine-like ourselves.
Our brains could essentially become idle.
Yes, and potentially atrophy. Which leads to an important question. Does relying on AI for things like writing or decision-making actually make us less intelligent over time?
It's certainly something to think about. The paper goes on to discuss what Krishnamurti saw as a potential solution, and it gets pretty radical.
This is where Krishnamurti's ideas get really fascinating. He believed that true intelligence exists beyond our normal thought-based minds. It's a kind of intelligence that machines could never replicate.
He was talking about accessing a different level of consciousness altogether.
That's right. He actually proposed a 4-stage process for achieving this, which he called enhancing consciousness.
What did that involve?
The first stage is recognizing how much of our thinking is already programmed, becoming aware of how often we're operating on autopilot without, conscious awareness.
That's probably not an easy thing for people to admit to themselves.
No, it isn't. And that's why the second stage is confronting the discomfort of that realization. Denying it or fighting against it only strengthens the hold of the mechanical mind.
So we have to face that discomfort head on.
In a way, yes. The third stage builds on this. It's about cultivating what he called perception or insight.
Can you explain what that means?
It means experiencing things directly without the filter of past knowledge or mental chatter. Not analyzing, comparing, or judging, just being fully present in the experience.
Present in the moment.
Exactly. And in the fourth stage, true intelligence can begin to emerge. This is a mind that is not burdened by accumulated knowledge. It's a state of constantly letting go and seeing things anew.
That sounds challenging.
It is. But Krishnamurti believed it was the only way to tap into a level of intelligence that machines could never reach.
So where does this leave us in relation to AI?
Krishnamurti saw AI as a mirror reflecting our own mental habits. If we're stuck in mechanical thinking, AI will simply amplify that. But if we can cultivate true intelligence,
The kind that goes beyond thought.
then AI might become an opportunity, a chance to explore those deeper parts of ourselves that machines can't touch.
That's a powerful idea. So you're saying that AI could actually push us to evolve our consciousness.
It's certainly a possibility, a challenge, but potentially a positive one.
I'm intrigued by this. But how do we actually put these ideas into practice? What would Krishnamurti say about the specific ways AI is showing up in our lives today?
That's a great question. He might say that we're already seeing the effects of the mechanical mind playing out in our relationship with technology.
Can you give me an example?
Think about how many of us reach for our phones the second we have a quiet moment. We constantly seek stimulation and distraction.
Trying to avoid being alone with our thoughts.
And that's precisely the kind of programmed reactive behavior Krishnamurti warned about. It's as if we're afraid of silence, of emptiness.
Because real intelligence might be found in that space.
Perhaps. But ironically, the more we try to fill that void with external input, social media, videos, whatever, the less space we have for real insight.
So we're hindering our own intelligence by trying to escape boredom.
You could see it that way. And AI is becoming incredibly sophisticated at providing that escape.
With algorithms designed to keep us hooked.
Exactly. They're learning our patterns, predicting our desires, and feeding us a constant stream of content tailored to keep us engaged.
It's a self-perpetuating cycle. The more we rely on AI for entertainment and distraction, the more machine-like our minds become and the less capable we are of breaking free.
That's why Krishnamurti placed so much emphasis on cultivating awareness. He saw it as the key to breaking out of this loop.
But how do we do that? It's easy to be more aware, but how do we actually apply that to our interactions with AI?
One practical step might be to start noticing when we're reaching for our devices out of habit rather than, genuine need.
To pause before we unlock the screen and ask ourselves, why am I doing this?
Exactly. And to be honest about the answer, am I bored? Anxious? Avoiding something unpleasant?
Bringing consciousness to our choices, even the small ones.
And that awareness can lead to making different choices. Instead of scrolling mindlessly, maybe we choose to sit with the discomfort for a while. Or have a conversation. Or go for a walk.
Anything that brings us back to the present moment, into a more direct experience of ourselves and the world around us.
Krishnamurti spoke often about the importance of observation, simply paying attention to what's happening in our minds and bodies without judgment.
He believed that kind of open, curious observation was the foundation of true intelligence, and it's something we can practice anytime, anywhere.
Even when we're using technology, perhaps we can start by observing how our devices make us feel.
Are we energized or drained? Focused or scattered? Are we using them as tools, or are they using us?
It's about flipping the script. Instead of letting algorithms dictate our behavior, we can start to use AI more consciously and deliberately.
Which aligns with Krishnamurti's vision of a more awakened, intentional way of being in the world.
That's right.
But how does this relate to the bigger picture? I mean, beyond our individual choices, how do we navigate these rapid advancements in AI as a society?
That's a crucial question. It feels like we're at a turning point with AI. It's evolving so fast, and it's becoming more and more integrated into every aspect of our lives.
We are at a crossroads, and Krishnamurti's insights are incredibly relevant in this context. He believed that technology itself wasn't inherently good or bad. It's how we use it and how we let it shape us that matters.
Exactly.
So how do we ensure that AI is used for good? That it doesn't contribute to that kind of mechanical thinking he was warning against?
Well, he emphasized the importance of critical thinking, not just accepting information at face value, but questioning it, analyzing it, looking at it from multiple perspectives.
Especially information we get from AI. We need to be aware of the biases that can be built into algorithms and the potential for manipulation.
Absolutely. That requires us to develop a deeper understanding of how AI works, what its limitations are, and what its potential consequences might be.
So we need to educate ourselves, not just about using AI, but about its underlying mechanisms.
Precisely. And that education needs to happen at all levels of society, from schools to workplaces to government policy.
It's interesting because Krishnamurti wasn't a technophobe. He saw the potential benefits of technology, but he also saw the dangers of becoming too reliant on it.
He urged us to find a balance, to use AI as a tool for enhancing our lives, but not to let it define us.
Which brings us back to his idea of cultivating true intelligence, that deeper, more aware way of being that can't be replicated by machines.
And that's where the real hope lies. If we can foster those qualities in ourselves, compassion, creativity, critical thinking, a sense of wonder, then we can use AI in a way that benefits humanity as a whole.
It's a challenge, for sure, but it's also an exciting one. It's like we're being called to evolve our consciousness to meet the possibilities and the potential pitfalls of this new era.
Krishnamurti might say that the rise of AI is an invitation, an opportunity to discover those aspects of ourselves that are truly unique, truly human.
That's a powerful message to end on. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
He might also point to the way AI is being used to manipulate our opinions and beliefs.
You're talking about things like targeted advertising and personalized news feeds.
Exactly. Those algorithms are designed to play on our existing biases, to keep us engaged, and ultimately, to influence our behavior.
So even if we're trying to be more aware, those systems are working behind the scenes to keep us in that mechanical mindset.
That's the concern. And it's one of the reasons why Krishnamurti stressed the importance of critical thinking. We need to be able to question the information we're being fed and to consider multiple perspectives.
It's like we need to develop a healthy skepticism toward AI, especially when it comes to information that confirms our existing beliefs.
He would likely say that's a sign of the mechanical mind at work, taking the path of least resistance, accepting what's comfortable rather than challenging our own assumptions.
So how do we break free from that? It feels like we're up against some pretty powerful forces.
It's not easy. But Krishnamurti believed that the first step is simply becoming aware of those forces, recognizing how they operate and how they influence us.
So it's about bringing that same awareness we talked about earlier to our online interactions.
Precisely. Paying attention to how we feel when we're using social media or browsing the web. Noticing when we're getting pulled into arguments or feeling anxious or inadequate.
Those are all signs that our mechanical minds are engaged.
Exactly. And once we're aware of those patterns, we can start to make different choices. Maybe we limit our screen time or consciously seek out diverse viewpoints.
Or maybe we step away from the technology altogether and engage in activities that foster true intelligence.
Like spending time in nature, having meaningful conversations with loved ones, pursuing creative endeavors.
Things that connect us to that deeper sense of ourselves that Krishnamurti believed was the source of true intelligence.
That's right. And he believed that by cultivating that deeper intelligence, we could not only navigate the challenges of AI, but actually use it as a tool for positive change.
So it's not about rejecting AI altogether,
Yeah.
but about using it in a way that aligns with our values and enhances our humanity.
Exactly. And that requires us to be mindful, intentional, and above all, to stay connected to that deeper part of ourselves that machines can never replicate.
That's a powerful message. And it leads us to a question about the ethical implications of AI. How do we ensure that this technology is developed and used responsibly in a way that benefits all of humanity?
That's a question a lot of people are grappling with right now. There's a growing awareness of the need for ethical guidelines and regulations around, AI development.
Krishnamurti might say that those guidelines need to go beyond just, preventing harm. They need to actively promote the kind of intelligence that he believed was essential for human flourishing.
He would likely argue that ethical AI development starts with recognizing the limitations of the technology, understanding that AI is a tool, not a solution in itself.
So we need to be clear about the problems we're trying to solve with AI and make sure those solutions align with our values.
Exactly, and that requires us to have a deep understanding of those values. What do we as a society prioritize? What kind of future do we want to create?
Krishnamurti might say that if we're not careful, we'll end up creating a future that simply reflects our current, mechanical way of thinking.
He would probably encourage us to use this moment as an opportunity to reevaluate our priorities, to ask ourselves what truly matters and how we can use technology to support those values.
It's almost like the development of AI is forcing us to confront some fundamental questions about what it means to be human.
I think that's a really insightful way to put it. As AI becomes more sophisticated, it challenges us to define what makes us unique. What are the qualities that machines can't replicate?
Things like compassion,
Yeah.
creativity, empathy, critical thinking, the very qualities that Krishnamurti believed were essential for a truly intelligent life.
And those are the qualities we need to cultivate if we want to navigate this new era in a way that benefits everyone.
So it's not just about building smarter machines. It's about becoming more intelligent humans.
That's the heart of it. And maybe that's the ultimate challenge and opportunity, really, that AI presents to us. It forces us to evolve, to grow, to become more fully human.
That's an inspiring thought to end on. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.